What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video I've got 10 very specific fragrances that in my view, these are flankers that when they did them, they got them right. Now look, they don't always hit. Sometimes they come across as a cash grab, as people like to call them, where they're just kind of releasing a new fragrance off of previous fragrances' success with similar name. It's a flanker of said name. Some of them are guilty of that, but sometimes they put out something that, in my opinion, can be really special and in some ways pay the right homage to the original and twist it just right, or surpass the homage and be a better fragrance overall. Now, these aren't the only 10 I feel this way about, but these are the 10 that I felt were worth the spotlight. So let's go over them, shall we? Stay tuned. A lot of people love this DNA. Count me as one of those people. I was very torn between two of the fragrances in the Guerlain L'Homme Ideal line, but the one that won out was the Extreme. I think there's a strong argument for this being just phenomenal. They got it right. So Extreme, because it does have the little deal over the E. Extreme, however you'd like to say it. Tobacco and plum added to that sweet and bitter almond DNA that the original was known for. You do smell the original eau de toilette in here, and it is indeed intensified by this earthy tobacco note, and this rich, juicy plum adds almost a slight medicinal feel to it. So I would say pretty much appropriately named, still stays true to the DNA, and in my opinion, a superior fragrance overall. Great quality. Ideal fall and winter, springtime, early springtime kind of fragrance, depending on where you live. Milder spring weather, totally can get away with this. There's an argument for this being the best in the line. And I go back and forth between this and the L'Intense, which is the other one I was debating on. That's more about smoke and leather with this sweet and bitter almond DNA. But I don't know, it's just something special, I guess would be the right word, for the Extreme. I think they got it right here. I don't think it could have been a better fragrance. Of course, every fragrance could always be better, because better is just an interpretation of how you feel about it. And in this situation, I think they did a great job. This is one of those times that they got it right, and I think this flanker is fantastic for the DNA. It's Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Extreme. Next is one that I think some people would say absolutely, and some people would say no, it doesn't smell enough like the original to me. And I totally get the original's DNA, that being Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male Elixir. This is pretty much what I envisioned an Elixir being like, a sweeter take on the original. There's some earthiness here. It's nice and sweet. It still has the aromatics and the greens and everything from the original. I still smell that original DNA here. That is some good stuff. It's ridiculously strong on top of that. I think it was a great release. It was my, top designer release of 2023 was how I viewed it. And it stayed that way all throughout the year. God, it smells so good. Just floating in the air, immensely powerful, a little powdery, sweet, earthy, rich, has a thick, robust nature to the aroma, aromatic and a little green. It's Le Male intensified and well beyond into an elixir, as they like to market these fragrances, type of fragrance, because elixir is not a concentration, it's just a marketing thing. They've just kind of intensified the fragrances and raised the concentration in these elixir flankers, and that's definitely what's going on here. And it's arguably the best looking bottle they've ever put out in the Le Male line, so I definitely think they got it right here. Of course, Le Male, the Parfum, is phenomenal. I know that one's going to come up in the comments as well, and I agree, it's amazing. But I don't know, I think they got it right here. Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male Elixir. This is appropriately named, taking one of my favorite versatile fragrances ever and making an intense version. We're talking about Mancera's Intense Cedrat Boise. This is the right name. This is done right. This is an intense take on the original. They raised the oil concentration to a 40% extrait. They made it warmer, spicier, and a bit more animalic. You get a hefty suede accord, some Cambodian oud. You get cardamom that really warms and spices up this fragrance while still maintaining that sharp lemon, black currant. You get some of the fruitiness and citrus of the original. Nice woodsy dose. It really does smell like just an intense take on Cedrat Boise. You don't lose all of the freshness, but it does get thicker, richer, stronger overall. Again, spicier, and a bit more animalistic. Because this Cambodian oud adds a little bit of sweetness, but this suede accord that was created adds that slight animalic feel to the fragrance. Man, it is good. There's so many things about this that are superior to the original. Though if you're in a warmer climate, I still recommend the original. But in cooler situations and seasons or indoor climates, this, like I said, this is superior in many ways. Performance and richness being two of those ways. And it just, I guess, technically smells better. If you waive the versatility factor, I think it is the better fragrance. But when you factor versatility in, that's where the original shines over this one. But they got it right. I totally think they got it right. Mixed emotions on Intense Red Tobacco. I think it's a better fragrance, but not an intense take on the original. So we'll see what they do in the future. But so far, they're 50% with appropriately named. And they did a great job here with Intense Cedrat Boise from the lovely house, one of my favorites, Mancera. Now, this is a lot of people's favorite in this line, and I get it. It's the one that gets the most praise, so it's the one we're going to talk about. They definitely got it right here. This takes the best of pretty much all of the flankers and combines it into one and adds some booze on top of that. This is Emporio Armani's Stronger With You, absolutely. This is most people's favorite. You get a lot of that toffeed sweet smell from the Intensely flanker. You get the nice warm cinnamon spicy tone of the original. You even smell a little bit of that roasted chestnut, though I don't even recall if they listed in the note breakdown, but that's part of the DNA from the original. Then you add in a nice hefty dose of rum. I mean, you get everything that's except for what's in the oud flanker and the leather flanker, but you get kind of a combination of the original, the Intensely, plus some booze. Because freeze and only kind of don't count in this situation, but this is an amazing flanker. This is a great flanker, in fact. And man, does it knock your socks off good. At least I feel that way. My wife feels that way too. This household, this fragrance, and this DNA as a whole, big hits. And like I said, I totally understand where this is the most beloved of the bunch because it deserves the love. If you're just going to get one, this is probably the one to get. Though I do like the leather flanker ever so slightly more. I love all of them, if I'm being honest here. Even the only flanker, which I think is the least enjoyable of the bunch, it's still a great fragrance. I just love the DNA because they always tie back to the original Strong With You, and I think that's important for a great flanker. Tell me a new story based off the original story, and that's what they did here. So they got it right with Stronger With You, absolutely. With this next one, I got to give Jean Paul Gaultier some flowers again because I do love Le Beau Eau de Toilette, but I love Le Beau Le Parfum even more. I think they did great. I can't wait to get a bottle of Le Beau Paradise Garden, the newest flanker. Please don't let me know what it smells like in the comments because at the recording of this, I still haven't smelled it yet. I'm trying to avoid being influenced by others' opinions because I do plan on getting it hopefully very, very soon. And I want to go into it as blindly as I can. But this, juicy fruit tropical, pineapple coconut, bright green, sweet and powdery. I mean, it's synthetic, sure. But aside from that, I don't understand what's not to like about it. The hype's justified with this one. It is so good. It is so powerful. It's a compliment beast, at least from me and my wife. Like, I've gotten several compliments from strangers, but my wife can't get up off of my neck when I'm wearing this one. She's a big, big fan. If I want her to really enjoy what I'm smelling, fragrances like this is the kind of stuff I reach for. And look, I'm a sucker for it too. It's my favorite Jean Paul Gaultier fragrance overall. Over this. This is my favorite Le Male. This is my favorite overall, not just favorite version of Le Beau. Which, I don't know, I haven't tried the new one. That might have beaten this one. Which is a tall task for me, because obviously it's just my opinion. But if you can find this fragrance, it's phenomenal. Miss Alhambra Latafa makes a clone called Glacier Bold that does get really close. But again, it doesn't capture the magic, as most clones don't capture the magic of the original, even with designers. That's still hard to capture that exact formula. So I would encourage to get this if you can. If not, the clone is okay. It does a great job. It's very close in scent profile. Isn't as strong. It's above average. This is pretty beastly. But this is a monster. I think they got it right. I can't wait to see how this DNA and line evolves. But they got Le Beau Le Parfum right. Now here's one that's a hit in this household. It's my favorite date night fragrance. It's my wife's favorite date night fragrance for me to wear. That doesn't get talked about anymore. I think they refined and slightly matured a very playful, sexy DNA. We're talking about La Nuit de l'Homme from YSL, but here we're talking about the Le Parfum flanker. This is still my favorite version of La Nuit de l'Homme because it doesn't venture away from La Nuit de l'Homme. So instead of the powdery and spicy cardamom with the lavender, you still get lavender, but there's fruity notes and black pepper. So it's not as powdery, and the sweetness here is more about fruity notes instead of just like a little bit of vanilla and things like that. This is beautiful. Above average performance, not crazy in your face. This one can dress up better than the original. Great for a dinner date. I love the pepper. I like the change from cardamom to pepper, but it still smells like La Nuit de l'Homme. It just smells more like grown man La Nuit de l'Homme is basically the way I can put it. Whereas the La Nuit de l'Homme DNA, I think, suits younger men more. I still enjoy it from time to time. I wore the original La Nuit de l'Homme a few weeks ago to dinner. But this is the go-to in this household. I think they got this one right. It is smoother. It has a richness to it without being an overbearingly strong fragrance. And it loses some of its playfulness while still not getting away from what the DNA is about. I totally think they nailed this one with Yves Saint Laurent's La Nuit de l'Homme Le Parfum. New for 2024. They nailed it. Magnetic, I thought, was the best in the line. Then Hugo Boss put out Boss the Scent Elixir. And Boss the Scent Elixir is going to be one of the best designers released in 2024. It's amazing. It smells like you take a little bit of Spice Bomb Infrared because of this pimento spice and mix it with that Maninka fruit from the DNA, which they don't even list, but you smell it clear as day if you're familiar with this scent profile. It even offers a little bit of booziness to that sweet fruity smell with a nice woodsy tone. It's aromatic without being too powdery. It's strong without being like chokingly overwhelming. It's phenomenal. Man, do I enjoy this fragrance. I love this fragrance. I'm so happy to have this fragrance. As it becomes more readily available in the States, I encourage you to get out and sample this, try this fragrance. It's the best in the line. They continue to outdo themselves. They've set a bar because I thought Magnetic last year, the previous year's release, was the best of the bunch. Previously, I skipped Pure Accord, but when it came to like the Absolute flanker, I was kind of torn. Like, okay, is it Private Accord still my favorite, or is it this one? So anytime a brand can take me through a particular scent DNA where all the fragrances have that same thumbprint that tie them together, and I keep getting torn every time they put a new one out, like, is the new one the best one? This is amazing. Whereas that's been the case, and this is the clear-cut best to me because the spices kind of stole my heart. But if you get an opportunity, try this one, because when it comes to what an elixir for the Boss the Scent DNA could have been, in my opinion, they got it right. Not all designer parfum flankers are created equally, because we got what we thought was the parfum version in 2020, and then in 2022, I believe this came out. It was like, okay, no, that's straight up the parfum, and when you smell it, it's like, oh, that's the Parfum de Polo Bleu. Polo Bleu Parfum. So the other one I was referencing was Polo Deep Blue Parfum, which is a more aquatic and metallic ambroxan type of fragrance, more about mango and things like that. Whereas with Polo Bleu Parfum, you smell the original's DNA, and it's a little darker, a little more resinous, a touch smoky, more refined, smoother, but still smells like the original. There's an elevation here from the Polo Bleu EDT scent profile to this parfum. It's, to me, the best of the bunch. At least that means it's my favorite. I do have 2 bottles of it. I'm lucky to have 2 bottles, which makes me want to wear this one even more because I have 5 ounces of it, 275 mLs. Get out and try this one. Any of you that wore Polo Bleu in the past, maybe early 2000s, that was your go-to. Maybe you got away from it. You got tired of the freshness, the kind of shower gel feel, that watery cucumber smell and melon that it's known for, which I don't think ever gets old. But this is the refined grown man's take on the DNA. If you grew up with Polo Bleu, this is the evolution right along with you as to if you want to stay true to that scent profile, you should check out this parfum. I really believe they got it right. I think this is one of the best designer parfum flankers I've ever seen because it very much smells like an actual higher concentration evolution of Polo Bleu. Again, that's Ralph Lauren Polo Bleu Parfum. Speaking of Parfum flankers, I think it's the standard bearer. In my opinion, it's the best blue fragrance to date to be created. If anybody could top it, it would be the same brand in their own line, which I don't think they're going to give us. I would love to see. We're talking about Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Of course, I'm alluding to the hope of one day getting a Bleu de Chanel Elixir, but I get it. Not everybody feels the way I feel about this, that it's the best blue ever, but follow me for a moment. So you still get all that citrus zest and bright freshness that the original is known for, and even the Eau de Parfum, the Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum. But there's also a warm, soft, woodsy facet that's even a little resinous and ambery as it settles down. This is another one, similar to Polo Bleu Parfum, with how smooth, refined, and grown man blue this is. Performance is not enough for some because it's not a loud fragrance, but it's a long-lasting fragrance that radiates off of the skin. It has a warming effect. It's very rich without being loud. I think it really suits the tone, the vibe, and the profile. And to me, I say again, it's the best blue fragrance ever made at the recording of this video. I'm sorry, I just don't understand how anybody could not like this. I get it. Not everybody likes the same things, but it's too good. If you're a blue fragrance guy or you like woody aromatic fragrances, it's a must try. Now, prices have gone up over a year. Retail's like $190 or something like that for this. This is one of those rare times I would say a mid-level designer might be worth the money. When I bought it, it was only $150 years ago before inflation got crazy over the last several years. But it's still phenomenal. It's worth trying. To me, it's the most superior of the blues. It's the superior take on Bleu de Chanel. I think when it came to making a parfum, Chanel got it right with Bleu de Chanel Parfum. The last one I want to talk about, I believe to be discontinued. There was a time when it was such a steal of a $35 fragrance. So a timeless classic masculine aromatic barbershop fragrance is Azzaro's Pour Homme. Well, in 2015, they put out this gem called Azzaro Pour Homme Intense. Now, this was their second go at an intense fragrance, and boy, did they get it right. I never smelled the old one, but this smells like that spicy aromatic of the original, spicy aftershave, but with a sweet boozy accord, a hot fiery cinnamon addition with great performance, super masculine with a modern twist. Classic old school masculine modernized. Brought into the 20th century, 21st century. Technically, brought into the 21st century. This is so good. So good. Even if you don't care for Azzaro Pour Homme, the original, if you can find this one cheap, it might be worth trying. It's not easy to just get a sample of something that's discontinued. So I'm not saying it's worth whatever high price it might be potentially going for on eBay. I haven't looked. I'm going to look after this recording, but man, if you can find this one for a reasonable price, under $100 somewhere, and you like these types of fragrances, barbershop meets boozy, it's one of the best I've ever smelled, especially for being a designer fragrance that at one time I paid $35 for. One of the best cheap fragrances, when I bought it anyways, it was cheap. One of the best cheap fragrances I've ever added to my collection. I would hope that holds a lot of weight when I say that, because to me it seems like a big deal, big enough deal that, because I got my fair share of cheapies that are really, really good steals for the money. This might be one of the biggest steals of all for what I paid for it. So if you get an opportunity to find this one for a decent price and you like the style, they definitely got it right when it came to making an intense flanker. Azzaro Pour Homme Intense, this is him. Well, that's the 10 that I wanted to cover with you today. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. I do appreciate all the feedback and I love hearing from you guys. So what do you think about these 10? Do you feel the same? Do you feel different? Do you not like them as much as I do? Do you think they got them wrong? Or do you feel like they did a good job? Or do you have different flankers in this line where that's the one where you feel they got it right? Like for some people, I could see people saying Le Male Le Parfum here. I could see some people saying Intensely or the leather flanker here, which I was super torn with the leather flanker. The original Le Beau, which that wouldn't be the flanker, that's the original. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know down below. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of these 10 and you give them a spray now, you might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.